What happens when a predator becomes a protector? Can a black panther and a forest elephant truly form a bond beyond instinct? So, what do you think? Can true friendship exist between predator and prey? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget, if this story made you feel something, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us for more wild tales that prove nature still has something magical to teach us. Deep within the lush emerald canopy of Bambaya Wildlife Sanctuary, in the heart of the Congo Basin, Ranger Malik Demba moved like a shadow, silent, alert, and grounded by years of experience. With skin bronzed by sun and storms, and eyes sharp as a hawk's, Malik had patrolled these ancient trails for over a decade. His love for the wild ran deeper than blood, but this morning, something felt different. The forest, usually alive with the chatter of birds and monkeys, was hushed, still. He was checking high-risk zones, areas where poachers had recently been reported. As he wove through a thicket of bamboo, a sound stopped him cold. Not the low growl of a predator or the warning snort of a buffalo. This was softer, a faint broken cry, wounded, alone. He paused, heart quickening. Following the sound, Malik stepped into a shaded glade where the undergrowth opened into a silent clearing. And there, curled at the base of a giant strangler fig, was a black panther cub. Its obsidian fur was matted with mud and blood. Its eyes, wild, wide, and glistening, locked with his, filled with terror and something more, pleading. A shattered steel snare lay nearby, twisted and rusted. Malik's breath caught in his throat. He knew the poachers had missed their prize, but barely. Slowly, he knelt, extending a hand not of dominance, but of compassion. The jungle had spoken, and what he found that day would change everything. Malik didn't move too quickly. He had learned long ago that the jungle responds best to silence and patience. The panther cub flinched at his first step, its trembling body pressed tighter against the tree's roots. One leg was stiff and swollen, clearly injured from the snare. Its breathing was shallow, each exhale edged with pain. Malik slowly removed his satchel and crouched low, whispering in a calm, rhythmic tone. Minutes passed like hours, then a shift. The cub's ears twitched, its wide golden eyes locked with his again, and this time it didn't shrink away. Malik gently reached forward inch by inch until his hand hovered above its blood-matted paw. The cub didn't resist. With practiced care, Malik unwrapped a small field blanket and lifted the cub into his arms. It didn't growl. It didn't claw. It simply rested its head against his chest, as if it knew somehow that it was safe. He cradled it like a child and began the long trek back to the ranger station, heart pounding with a mixture of awe and urgency. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a beginning. Something rare and fragile had been entrusted to him by the jungle itself. That night, under a canvas of stars, the cub slept peacefully for the first time in days. Malik named her Nyoka, shadow, in a forgotten dialect. But to him, she would always be something more. A silent survivor, a symbol of the wild's resilience. And the bond had only just begun. Back at the ranger station, nestled deep in the heart of Bambaya, Nyoka's healing journey began. Malik prepared a soft bedding of woven grass and laid her gently down. The cub's breathing was still shallow, her body too weak to resist even the smallest touch. But her eyes never left Malik's, watchful, wary, and unmistakably intelligent. The days that followed were a test of patience and instinct. Malik treated her wounds, fed her soft, nourishing meals, and spoke to her in hushed tones. Slowly, Neoka responded. She began to eat on her own. The tremble in her limbs faded. Her muscles, once brittle with hunger, grew taut with strength. And as her obsidian coat regained its luster, so too did the fire in her eyes. She started following Malik, first limping, then walking, and finally slinking through the station like a shadow reborn. She learned his routines, mirrored his silence in the field, and kept close on his patrols, moving just out of sight but never far. At night, she would curl near his tent, her steady breathing a lullaby from the wild. The rangers watched in quiet disbelief. Nyoka was no ordinary cat. She had the stealth of the forest in her blood, the soul of something ancient. And yet, she chose to stay beside the man who saved her, not as a pet, but as a partner. Something deeper than survival had taken root. A black panther once broken, now awakened. And the jungle had begun to whisper her name. It began just before dawn. Malik was brewing tea over the embers of a dying fire when Nyoka burst through the mist like a whisper turned to thunder. No longer the fragile cub he had rescued, she now moved with the grace of the jungle itself, powerful, sleek, and precise. But today, something was wrong. Her shoulders were tense, her tail low, and her golden eyes, usually calm, flashed with urgency. She paced, circled him, then bolted a few paces into the forest before looking back. A silent call. Malik grabbed his pack and rifle, his instincts flaring. He had never seen her behave like this. Nyoka led him deep into Bambaya's forgotten heart, beyond patrol paths, beyond known terrain. Branches snapped underfoot, vines clawed at his arms, but she never slowed. Finally, they arrived at a small gully. That's when he saw it. A massive male forest elephant, bleeding, collapsed, and tangled in a brutal web of barbed wire and snare traps. Its breathing was ragged, its eyes wide with fear and pain. The trap had shredded its hind leg. Flies buzzed. Blood soaked the soil. Malik's chest tightened. This wasn't just any elephant. It was Kumba, the last matriarch's oldest son, a guardian of Bambaya's ancient herds. Malik radioed for backup, voice low but firm. Nyoka sat beside him, her gaze never leaving the suffering giant. She had brought him here for a reason. A life was fading fast, and time was running out. Back at the ranger station, the injured elephant, Kumba, was stabilized and resting under a makeshift shelter. Vets had worked through the night cleaning the wounds, administering antibiotics, and keeping him sedated to ease the pain. But even after the worst was treated, his spirit remained dim, his eyes clouded with suffering. Malik stayed close, checking on him hourly. But to his surprise, Neoka never left the elephant's side. From the moment Kumba was brought in, Neoka kept her distance, but her presence was constant. She lay just outside the enclosure, her golden eyes locked on the great beast, not with fear, but understanding. She never growled or paced, she simply watched, and Kumba, despite his trauma, didn't flinch at the panther's presence. In time, he began responding, lifting his head, watching her back. Then something remarkable happened. One morning, as the mist rose from the forest floor, Neoka padded silently into the enclosure. Malik held his breath, but neither animal reacted with aggression. Instead, Neoka approached the elephant's massive head and gently pressed her forehead against his trunk. Kumba closed his eyes. In that instant, something ancient stirred, an echo of the wild's hidden language. Not predator and prey, not threat and fear. Just two beings, both survivors of cruelty, choosing to trust. Malik, overcome with awe, whispered, "You're not just protecting this sanctuary, you're healing it." That moment rippled through the sanctuary like a secret blessing. Because even in the wildest corners of the world, empathy finds a way. The wild had broken them, but somehow, It had healed them together. Weeks passed. Kumba's wounds faded, but the memory of suffering lingered in his eyes. Still, each day he grew stronger, fed by the care of rangers, by Malik's watchful presence, and perhaps by something even deeper. Nyoka, the black panther who had once been rescued, now stood as guardian to another. Her presence calmed him, grounded him. But Malik knew the time had come. The sanctuary gates opened one crisp morning. The team stood back in silence as Kumba stepped forward, his tusks glinting in the dawn light. Every step was deliberate, steady, and Nyoka, silent as ever, walked beside him, not with possession, but reverence. At the forest edge, Kumba paused. He turned to Malik, then to Nyoka, and let out a low, rumbling trumpet, a sound that echoed through the valley like a blessing. Nyoka pressed her head briefly to his trunk one last time. Then, with regal grace, Kumba disappeared into the green. Malik remained at the clearing long after the elephant vanished. The forest had returned to its rhythm, but something within him had changed. Nyoka, now stretched on a nearby rock, looked at him not as a tamed animal, but as an equal, a partner. They had saved lives, faced cruelty, and restored balance, together. And though Kumba was gone, his spirit lingered, etched into every root, every rustle, every breeze through Bambaya's trees. If this story of unity and survival moved you, please like this video, share it, and subscribe for more tales where the wild still whispers legends. The story of Nyoka and Kumba spread like wildfire through Bambaya and beyond. Rangers whispered it around campfires. Children in nearby villages recited it like legend. Scientists and conservationists documented the phenomenon, but no one could quite explain it. How could a predator show such care? How could a giant wounded guardian respond with trust? But the forest understood. Neoka became a living symbol of resilience. Once a helpless cub in a cruel snare, she had become the heart of the sanctuary. Malik often found her patrolling alone, her sleek body weaving through vines like liquid shadow. Wherever she passed, silence followed, not from fear, but reverence. The animals knew her. They watched her, and so did the poachers. Rumors spread among them of a ghost panther that protected the forest, that no trap could catch her, no bullet could touch her. Some claimed she could vanish into the trees. Others swore she stared straight into their souls. And so, the snares became fewer. The gunshots, rarer. Malik and Neoka remained a quiet team, bonded by something deeper than words. They didn't speak the same language, but they understood each other's rhythm, their purpose. Nyoka wasn't just a panther. She was Bambaya's spirit made flesh. And as the sun set behind the treetops, casting golden light over the sanctuary, Malik looked at her and whispered, "We're not just protecting the wild, we're writing its future." If you believe in the power of stories like Nyoka's, like this video and subscribe for more. The jungle still speaks. Let's make sure the world listens. In the deepest corners of the jungle, where danger and beauty exist side by side, a silent truth echoes through the trees. Compassion has no species. The story of Malik and Nyoka reminds us that even the most broken souls can rise, and even in the wildest hearts, empathy lives. A ranger's patience and a panther's trust became a bond strong enough to heal not just wounds, but an entire sanctuary's spirit. Nyoka, once a trembling cub in a snare, became a guardian of the forest, not with words, but with loyalty, grace, and courage. It teaches us that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it prowls quietly beside you, watching, protecting, and guiding. So wherever you are, remember, kindness isn't weakness. It's the wild's most powerful force. If this story moved you, please like this video and subscribe. More unforgettable journeys from the heart of the wild are waiting to be told.